When you get to where you want to go in life, you finally get there, you finally reach that point, and you're there, and you're happy as hell. Realize this, you're not there yet. When you get that feeling that you arrived, be afraid.
Right.
Be truly afraid, because now you start to do this.
Slowly die.
Slowly die. Either you're getting better or you're getting worse. You're not staying the same. So when you get to where you think the journey is ended, and you're sitting back and you're like, I arrived, I'm on Mount Everest. I climbed 29,029.
Yeah.
The best thing to do is fall back down that damn mountain as fast as you can and start climbing.
Find the next climb.
Find the next climb.
Need motivation?
Watch a top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, David Goggins, and my take on his top 50 rules of success. Enjoy.
We all have these voices in our head. We like to not listen to them. The one that comforts us and keeps us nice and warm and cuddly and gives us cookies and milk at nighttime and shit. We like that voice. That voice is the one we want to always hear, which is why people don't like to listen to me a lot. Some people do, some people don't. The only thing that changes you is being real. So basically, you know, I had to have the courage to go back in it because nothing was getting done. I kept on going to that nice cuddly voice in my head saying, you know what? You don't need to do this. That's too much work, man. You've earned this. You deserve this. And that mentality got me to 297 pounds, fat, out of shape. To me, a loser. To me, making $1,000 a month and making a ton of mistakes. Because mistakes happen on the easy side of life. You take the easy road, the easy path, there's a lot of mistakes over there. The hard journey, you don't make too many mistakes over here because it's too hard. You don't want to repeat it. My definition of greatness is this. It's not a definition, it's an example. This is greatness, true greatness. Let's say that I'm the greatest tennis player of all time, okay? Let's say that. I hate tennis.
Yeah.
Let's say I'm the greatest tennis player of all time. And I did 22 years. I run all the Grand Slams. I beat Roger Federer. I am the best ever. And we're having an interview. And you're talking about my greatness, what I achieved. Now I'm retired. Don't play tennis anymore. Haven't touched a racket in years. And you're making me go back through my life. You're kissing my butt about how great I am. And I'm answering your questions. Every question I'm answering it. I'm with you. But in the back of my mind, all I'm thinking about is all the times I could have won those matches that I lost by not bringing my best mindset. You're haunted by all the opportunities that you missed by not bringing your best at that time. When you could have won, but you didn't win because you allowed life to interfere with that one shot. When you're sitting there getting ready to serve for the match and your mind is not thinking about where that ball placement needs to be, but it's thinking about your family this or this at work or that at work. That's greatness. Greatness is your recall on every single shot that you missed throughout a 20-some year career. Every shot, you can go back and say, I was here. This person was in the red shirt there. Greatness is being so aware of the time of life in the second that went by, and you can recall it like it was yesterday. Greatness is being able to go back there, not making that same mistake again, and being haunted by it. That is greatness. I realized that God wasn't going to give me a get out of jail free card. And from the time I was born and to the time I was 19 years old, my life had these hurdles. I constantly hit obstacles, obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. And I had to figure out how to manage suffering, how to deal with it, because it'd be part of my life forever. At least that's what I thought. So in order to deal with it, I had to be able to conquer it and overcome it and deal with it and know that in this suffering, there has to be some kind of growth. With every obstacle, I look at it as friction now. Without friction, there is no growth. You have to have friction in your life to grow. So I started looking at all these different things versus the woe is me mentality. Like, oh my God, look at my life. My life's so f***ed up. I come from this f***ed up family. I'm being beaten. I'm being abused mentally, physically. I started looking at it as the perfect trial ground. So I had to flip it upside down and say, okay, I'm suffering tremendously, mentally. Use this to your advantage versus your disadvantage. So that's what I did. Versus looking at it as like, oh my God, woe is me, I'm never gonna get out of here. I looked at it as, okay, hang on a second. If I can overcome this, if I can find some power in this, some way to get through this, that right there will be the fuel for the rest of my life. And so I found great strength in suffering. Great strength in it because why? Through all of that, it started to callous my mind over the victim's mentality. This whole thing about suffering, yeah, it sucks. Really bad. Really, really bad. But we all live on this side of suffering. On this side, this nice box that's very comfortable, that we know when everything's gonna happen. We're in it, it's good. We know how everything's gonna turn out. It's those few people who are willing to go on this side of suffering. And once they get through that, ask him how he feels now. His mind, how far he grew. In that short period of time, he grew so much more than the normal person because he was willing to go outside himself. Because on the other end of suffering is greatness. It's not over here. So a whole bunch of us, we put ourselves in this great box. And in that box, there's no suffering in it. So what we do is we shelter ourselves from greatness. So for me, for instance, I was 300 damn pounds at one time in my life. Sprayed for cockroaches, made $1,000 a month. I was living in that box. I would sometimes look over the box and I saw hell, suffering, storms, avalanches, tornadoes. I don't want to go over there, but I knew if I can get through that shit mentally, on the other side was a 185-pound person who's a Navy SEAL, went through Ranger School. Only person to do this, only person to do that, only person to do this. But that's through all of that shit. All that shit I have to go through. So you peek over the box and you go back in and say, oh, I'm okay being 300 pounds, making $1,000 a month. Right. I'm okay over here. And on the other side is where you start to really start your journey. People think they start their journey because they're born. No, there's a lot of people in graves who have lived 100 years and have never started their real journey. Your real journey starts when you go outside that box and you start climbing mountains. You start climbing mountains. And you think you're at the top of the mountain, you go down the other side of it, you think, I'm here. And you look up, there's another mountain. And it goes on, and it goes on, and it goes on. And just when you're getting ready to quit, you crest that final mountain, you get down and you look, and there you are. And it starts to make sense to you then. It doesn't make sense to you until you get outside that box. I'll talk to so many people, and what I say is not for everybody. So many people don't have any clue on what the I'm saying because they're in this box, and it's their brain. You first must go through suffering to find that great peace we're all looking for. A lot of us want to have, there's a lot of books out there about this 5 steps. Do this, do this, do this, get there. No, man, it's not that easy. To find real, permanent peace and enlightenment, you must go to the dark side of who you are. I could have easily just shoved my whole life under a rug and went straight to peace. Are you happy there? You overcame nothing. You jumped hell, you skipped hell, you forego this part of your life, you skip it and go right to peace. So you always have this thing back here that's haunting you, and that's that darkness. You must go into the darkness to truly find that light that you're looking for, because that's what's on the other side of that. People get it all wrong, man. You have to face suffering. You have to face this dark side, this darkness. And there's a lot of energy in there. There's a lot of goodness in there that you can use to find greatness. But you cannot find your peace you're looking for in yourself until you've overcome yourself.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
The biggest one I would say is never pick the easy road. Never. Never. And it always goes back to kind of that the hero mentality. Never pick the easy road ever in your life. That is the one road that is doom. It is doom. If you want something like 6-minute abs, all these different things, if you want it so fast, you may achieve what you wanted, but you want the permanent fix. The permanent fix comes from the hard road. The hard road gives you permanent results. The easy road gives you the quick fix. You will go back to where you started on the easy route. That hard route is so permanent that it ends up callousing you everywhere. Everywhere.
You keep a 6-pack forever.
You keep it.
You keep it.
Because you know the work that goes into it.
Yeah.
It's funny that you're sitting here saying that like things like public speaking you find hard when you've done all the crazy, insane stuff that you've done.
Because I do them alone.
Right.
I do them alone.
Yeah.
You know, like I pick these hard things that most people think you can't finish anyway. So, you know, you go out there, you grind, you're alone, you're in your own head. I work best alone.
Right.
I work best alone. So those are easier. You know, I figured out a way to kind of challenge, your mind, channel it and challenge it at the same time. And I figured out a way to kind of just have an indestructible toolbox in your mind. So those are easier. I think that when you die, this is just my own mindset, that you arrive in line. It helps me to get past a lot of things. You arrive in line, and let's say you're in front. Let's say you die right before me, and you're in line, and God's sitting there with the clipboard, okay? Sitting there with the clipboard, like me and you're sitting right now. He's looking at you, and he says, hey, you made it to heaven, good job, okay? And then he shows you the clipboard of what your life should have been. So you live this life that you thought you pushed so hard. Then you look at the clipboard. Let's say myself, this is now me, I'm talking about myself now. And let's say I got to heaven weighing 300 pounds. I was a guy that worked for Ecolab, which is a guy that kills cockroaches for a living, which is fine, it's a job. But then I look at this, and that's how I died. I look at this, and it says on here what I should have been, because God's all-knowing, right? I look at this, and it said you should have been 185 pounds, you should have broke Guinness Book of World Records, you should have been a Navy SEAL, you should have been this, you should have been that, you should have lived this great life, you should have been an inspiration, you should have inspired millions. And then you give the clipboard back to God. Let's say you lived 80 years on earth, and now you realize that you lived here being a shell of who the you should have been. So now you're in heaven. But are you really in heaven? Because now you see how much you left down there on earth. The root cause of the quitter isn't that you can't do 100 push-ups. You can train anybody to do that. The root cause of the quitter is when you get in hell, you can't process it. It's too much to process because your mind starts going back to the real reality of like, I'm not ready, I'm not good enough. It's not trained. So I started training this, realizing that the only thing that makes me quit is not the muscle fatigue, it's the mental fatigue that makes me quit everything in life. So I became a practitioner of the mind. The mind's a very powerful thing. It has a tactical advantage over you all the time. It knows your fears, it knows your insecurities, it knows where you don't want to go. So it will guide you away from that. And that's why the mind will always win until you reprogram it. It will always win until you reprogram it. Because the mind controls you. Why is that? It's your mind. It's your mind. Because all those things that happen to you in your life, all those bad things, all those things that you blame other people for, they're now yours to own. You got to figure out a way to reprogram your mind to get outside the box. I had a starting point. And the starting point was this very scared, immature, fragile kid. But through figuring out this fragile kid, I found out, well, shit, through all this muck and shit, this can come out the other end. Person that does 4,030 pull-ups, who runs miles and miles and miles at a time. But we all have these abilities, not just to run and do pull-ups, but these abilities that once we go back into our dark holes, that a lot of us have. A lot of us come from, insecurities, a lot of issues, but we don't want to visit that place. Place is scary. Place is something that we want to forget about. I had the courage, finally, to go back in there and organize that shit. Get it organized in my mind and figure out, where to start from. So, but the journey led me to the so-called superhuman stuff that I do now. It's kind of cliche, but the first thing about it, man, is you can't ever hit the snooze button. You can't ever wake up in the morning time and hit the snooze button. So what that means is a lot of people don't understand this, but life is going to get at you no matter what. You cannot escape the fact that life is brutal.
Yeah.
I'm not saying all life is brutal. I'm not trying to paint this horrible, disastrous picture of life. But I'm telling you, you're going to get those calls saying this person died. You're going to get those calls saying you lost your job. You're going to get those calls saying you don't have any money. You're going to get those calls saying you're sick. You're going to get those calls saying your husband, your wife, your niece, your nephew, your son, your daughter, something's going to happen bad.
Yeah.
That's just life. So what I developed is I believe that you must start to armor your mind. And I talk about this in my book a lot, about armoring your mind in the morning. It starts with developing that self-structure. You have to do it yourself. Everything is self. You cannot count on team. In life, we always count on, maybe I can get put part of this big team and this trainer, and everybody's going to help me get going where I need to go. That's all good.
Yeah.
But there's going to be those times in life when there's no one around but yourself, and you got to hold yourself accountable for what you're doing. So getting back to putting the armor on top of yourself, for me, it starts off with feeling good about yourself. And that doesn't come from, for me, it's not about money, it's not about fame, it's not about any of that shit. It comes with the reflection in that mirror. So every morning I get up, it starts off with getting after it in the gym. Getting after it in the gym, running, all those things I do, all those disciplines.
I get a lot of questions about how I lost so much weight. People want to know how they can get started. So basically, you're thinking too much off the bat. When I lost my weight, I didn't look for a trainer. I didn't do all that thinking. I didn't go on Jenny Craig. I didn't do all that shit. What I did was I basically stopped eating so much food. I cut my calories down. So as far as the workout goes, we overthink that also. Until you find a trainer, go out there and start walking. Put some shoes on, start running. Go to the gym, do the elliptical trainer. It's not rocket science. A lot of folks talk about overtraining. You gotta train first before you can overtrain. Sometimes you wake up in the morning time and you're sore and you feel like you're overtrained. No, you got sore legs. Get out of your own head and stop overthinking it.
And I look at it as psychological warfare. And that's where I started learning that life is one big psychological warfare that you play on yourself. You play on yourself, man. The most important conversation I ever had is with myself. And the shit I was telling myself was so up, it was so wrong, it was so misguided. And other people start to write that dialogue for you also. And it starts to be what you say to yourself every single day. And I started creating a whole nother warfare, a whole nother battle started becoming. I was like, oh, hang on a second, Goggins. You have these tools. You have these tools. Your life was basically the perfect grounds for training for where you need to go in your life. All the beatings, all the bullying, all the, you going through learning disabilities, all the struggles. It was the absolute perfect training ground for you to go to where you need to go. And that's how I started looking at my life versus woe is me, poopy pants, kick a rock down the street mentality. It was, God just hooked you right the up. He hooked you right up, man, with the perfect place. You were training for the first 18, 19, 20, you were training for this stuff, man. You have the advantage of everybody else versus, my God, they're so above me. they came from a great family. Mom and dad love them. They didn't have to learn, they didn't stutter, they didn't struggle. No, man, your struggle is what made you who you are now. So I started flipping this into a whole different, I started being a master of what I was scared of. I was scared of my mind. And I became literally a master of that mind. And that's what now, from now on, it sets me apart from most people. I started diving into that.
I'm just asking you because I want to understand this because I'm a student but you know, I'm not on the same playing field as Michelle Obama. Clearly you're not either because her book's ahead of you right now. So what does that mean? Because the reality is some people are in better, higher positions of power and influence.
You know what? It's funny you say that, man. And I want to get to that about Michelle Obama in my book and where it's at right now. So it's in the back. There's, Can't Hurt Me is the name of it. But basically, Michelle Obama is above me. But this is my mindset right now. My mindset is this. I'm impacting millions of people right now. I never thought in my wildest dreams I'd even write a book. When this whole story began, I never thought my wildest dreams I'd ever write a book. So what it means is put everybody on a level playing field. If my approach to life is I want to catch Michelle Obama, I want to catch her. I'm number 2 behind her. Like I'm way behind her.
Yeah.
But if your mindset is that, you're gonna be trying to catch this woman, versus thinking to yourself, you know what? I'm never gonna catch her. Therefore, if you put that in your mind, I'm never gonna catch her, you're gonna stop way short of your true capability. Mm-hmm. And that's the 40% rule that I talk about in the book. You have to believe that you have a shot to catch Michelle Obama.
Yeah, but let me ask you, David, you're not really trying to catch her.
It's a mentality.
Yeah.
So the thing about it is you have to believe you can. So by you believing you can, you're going to work your natural ass off in the pursuit of trying to catch the impossible.
For me, my routine is every night I stretch out. And I stretch out for 2 or 3 hours every single night without fail.
Yeah.
And while I'm stretching out, I'm thinking about my plan for the next day. And I'm thinking about all these different obstacles that may come up. So basically, a lot of us aren't prepared for life. We get up willy-nilly and just hope life is going to happen. It is going to happen, but it's going to happen with a prepared mind or an unprepared mind. Most people attack life with an unprepared mind. What I do is I try to account for all things that could happen, might happen, probably will happen, and then the unknowns. So basically, I can't account for everything, but I do know there could be some things that come up in life that you need to be ready for. I know for a fact I'm not going to want to work out tomorrow. Therefore, I'm preparing my mind for that. I don't want to do that. I know tomorrow will come with some difficult decisions to make. It may come with getting a phone call saying someone died, this happened, that happened. I'm always preparing myself, not in a morbid way, but just like, look, man, be ready for life. Don't let life just start attacking you left and right. Make sure that you start to build a mental armor so then you're ready for life. And that comes with a very physical way, and the physical helps out the mental.
It's just life, man.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was born, I was a good kid, and life beat the shit out of me for no reason. But it's up to us. It's up to us now. No one's coming back to save you. So you better start to armor your mind against the things that are going to come at you. It's not always your fault, but you got to suck it the fuck up, and you got to deal with it. So that's why I believe in that structured system, because basically all you're trying to do is develop the right mindset to attack every obstacle you're going to face in life. That's all the structure is about. It's about setting up a structured system in your life so you can attack the obstacles that are going to come at you. That's basically what it's about.
So I went down to the gym, and there's this crazy elliptical trainer, but it's not a normal elliptical trainer. It's one that you almost self-power. It's very...
Yeah, it's not electric.
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
So I got on that thing, and I realized, man, this shit sucks. And after 2 minutes, I'm like, I don't want to do this. So, right then I realized, it looks like we're going to be here for a while. So I did that for 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm not saying do that, but that's something I did today. Once my mind said, you know what, let's not do this today. I said, well, since my mind went there, I redirected it and said, just for having that weak thought, we're going to be on here for a while.
Right. So it does sort of sound like you're punishing part of your mind in a way.
Punishment, maybe not be the right word.
Yeah.
I want my mind to know who's in charge. So for the better part of 26 years, my mind was in charge of me.
Yeah.
Which is why I made all these horrible decisions. Once you take control of your mind, you start making decisions for yourself versus your mind making decisions for you.
You don't usually get to see, and especially someone like you, who you went into so much depth about your rise and fall and rise and fall. It wasn't like a straight linear process between you getting inspired and then you becoming this bad.
No, it wasn't like, what's that show called that Will Smith plays, that black guy who kind of makes it in the financial world. Pursuit of Happiness.
I never saw that.
Yeah, it's a great movie. It wasn't like Pursuit of Happiness, man. Like where the guy struggles and he gets over it and he makes it.
Yeah.
I fell on my ass. I thought I got to the top of Mount Everest, and Mount Everest just slide right underneath me, man. I was like, God, dog, I got to start from scratch again. Scratch became my friend, literally, man. So, you know, that's how you put in the book, man. Just going up, going down, going up. Just the real raw version of how my life was It was so in-depth to go back through your life with a fine-tooth comb that I almost got embarrassed to even put it out there to people.
Yeah.
That's what you don't understand, man. Like, even me right now to talk to you, I'm in the car for an hour getting pumped up because I'm a shy, introverted, leave me alone type of guy. Like, I'm still that who is 6 years old, you know, at a play who can't say his line because I know I'm going to stutter in front of 5 people. So I walk off the stage. That's still me. So every day I'm fighting that dude. So people think, oh my God, man, you're on a podcast, you look so crazy, so evil. No, I'm trying to be locked into Joe. So my mind isn't very often saying, let's run out the damn door because people are watching me on the podcast. I want to open this damn door and get the hell out of here, man. So that's the real me. So I'm not sadistic, man. I'm focused on what I have to do to stay locked into the game of life. And that's what I tell people, man. I go there.
Would you say you've built this almost like sadistic quality where you almost enjoy the pain?
I don't enjoy it. It's necessary.
Yeah.
It's necessary. So every morning I wake up, it's not just about working out, but for me, working out has been a very big part of my mental growth. So for me, if I am not challenging myself every day, and I swear to God, people will not believe it, I was over almost 300 pounds twice in my life. A person that does that twice in his life does not enjoy cardiovascular activity,
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So people can put anything they want to in their head. I did realize one thing. The things I don't enjoy that I still do, that's where growth is at. And that's, for me, the only place growth is at is in that very uncomfortable, in that uncomfortable zone.
Yeah.
So I have to visit it every single day.
So basically, what it is for me is, so I have my schedule. My schedule, okay, you can talk to Grant today at 11 o'clock. You have 3 calls before you talk to Grant.
Pull up the book.
Your first call is at 7 a.m. If my first call is at 7 a.m., I want to make sure that I am already done with my workout before my first call, because that's my strength. My strength is knowing that I kick myself in the ass, because I cannot go on and start talking when I'm talking to you right now if I haven't gotten after it. It's a direct reflection of my mind. This is what gives me power. What gives me power is I took ownership and I took responsibility in my own personal life to make myself better. Therefore, now I can come on here and talk the way I'm talking to you right now.
Yeah, so it sounds to me like to me it sounds like the workout is ready today.
You got it. It has nothing to do with looking good. You know, that's a side. That's a side. You know, that's the gravy. That's the gravy. But the whole thing about it is building the mentality. It's everything I talk about, man. I don't give a damn where you're from or whatever. It's about building your own mentality, being as crazy as it sounds, being your own hero, being the best person you can be, so you're not putting people above you. The worst thing you can ever do in life is put people above you. Because what happens there is you believe you can't reach that. You must believe that you're on a level playing field with every person in the world. And that starts with mentality. It always keeps you in the game. It keeps you in the fight. It keeps you in the battle. It keeps you moving forward.
A lot of you are trying to find inspiration and motivation with a depressed mindset. You're depressed because you're not doing shit with yourself. You don't find inspiration by not living in the grip of life. You need to live in the grip of life to find inspiration. Put challenges in front of yourself. When you put a challenge in front of yourself and you attack it, that's when you find inspiration. Try to be 10% better than you were last week. So if you're running 30 miles a week, run 33. If you're swimming 500 meters, swim 550. If some of you aren't doing shit, you're 10% is just getting off the couch. The more you walk away from accountability, the weaker you become. Find yourself in the grip of life. You can't find yourself by doing nothing.
I'll tell you this, I started really realizing that when I started overcoming myself, I started getting around these real alpha males, these hard men. And I always put people way above me when I was growing up. Like my God, they had to have a lot more than me to get to where they're at. And a lot of them did. But once you get around the best of the best of the best people, you can kind of start breaking them down and realizing, man, you're just as up as me. Like we all have, but all you did was you hit it better. Your upbringing, your mom and dad, your society, the way you were raised, it hit it better than mine. You weren't the only black kid, or there was like 5 in a school. You know, I can't hide. Going through buds, I was the only black kid. You can't hide. But I started realizing just because I look different than you, a lot of you motherfuckers can't hide either. So it started giving me courage through watching people that we all have a story. We all have a jacked up life in one way or another. Some of us don't have the guts to talk about it though. And that's where I found the guts to talk about mine. I used to look at my life from a different vantage point. And when you're in all the muck and you're just walking in muck and walking in muck and walking in muck, you don't see that if you look off to the left of the muck, there's a sidewalk, brother. Get off of it. You have your head down looking in this muck. Once I saw the sidewalk, got the sidewalk, I got a little break. And I got a different vantage point. And then from the sidewalk, I found a cliff. Then I found a mountain. I got way up high on top of my life and looked back down on it and said, okay, I got to figure this out, man. I'm not going anywhere. I'm starting to lie. So when you have a messed up foundation, I started lying about everything. I wanted people to like me. I wanted to be accepted in some society of life, some social society. And I was like, man, this isn't the right way. I messed up here, I messed up here, I messed up everywhere. And so I realized the worst thing that happened to me is I lost myself. I never had myself. I never found myself. I had no self-esteem. So I knew through working out and through learning, because it took a lot for me to learn also, I started finding self-esteem. Once I found that, that's when doors started opening up. I stopped caring about people, that what they thought, being judged. Wow, if I say this, if I started right now, are you gonna make fun of me? I stopped caring about that. And that's when my life started really changing for me, slowly but surely.
Do you ever have a day where you just think, I can't be asked to do anything? I'm not going for a run, I'm not stretching, I'm doing nothing.
Every day.
Yeah. So you have the thought, but you don't have the day.
Every day.
Do you ever let yourself have a day where
Never.
you just watch Netflix?
Never, because
Some
guess
good shit
what?
on Netflix.
I'm haunted. No, I can't do it. I can't do it. There may be some days I get up with poopy pants, and I'm like, you know what, man? F this, man. Like, what am I training for?
Yeah.
I have no race on the docket. Why am I having this such a structured life? Why? And I'm like, you know what? I'm good. I'm done. I retire every day.
Yeah.
I'm done with this shit. And I sit around and I say, okay. And then this is my thought process. So you want to be normal. So you just want to be like everybody else that roams the world, not knowing the power that's in them. Being fine with being mediocre. You want to go back to who you were, huh, David? And I'm like, F that, man.
And you have that conversation with yourself every day?
Not every day, it's those bad days.
Yeah.
It's those bad days. I see a whole bunch of people walking around out here who have no idea how talented they truly are. And I'm talking about talent, like some God-given ability. Talent that sometimes you have to hone, and you have to work on, and you have to harness yourself. And they just walk around just on their phones, just clueless to how powerful they are.
I am constantly trying to find my new 100%. even though life gets at you, age gets at you, sickness may get at you. I have friends of mine who lost legs, who lost arms, who lost all kind of stuff. And they call me and say, hey, man, what am I going to do now? I said, well, it's up to you to find your new norm.
Love that,
It's
man.
up to you to find your new 100%. No, you cannot do some of the things you used to do. But what can you do today? What can you do now with what you have? And you must find your new norm. So I was in Navy SEAL training for 18 months. Navy SEAL training is only a 6-month program. I was in there for 18 months. People said, how did you do it? I changed my mindset to where Navy SEAL, I was a permanent Navy SEAL student. That's how I looked at myself. That was my new norm. My new norm was I got up and I got the shit kicked out of me every day of my life. And that was my new norm. I didn't look forward to, oh, I can't wait for it to end. Oh my God, this and that, all the feeling sorry for yourself. No, my new life until it's over is I'm a permanent Navy SEAL student and my life is about getting the shit kicked out of me. So you got to change your mindset for the situation that you're in today.
It's more important to own your weaknesses. You got to really triple down on those, man. Because why? You want to become a full human being. We like to run away from weaknesses. Like, for instance, if you're good at running, all you want to do is run. If you're great at reading, you have several books. But we don't do those things that we're not good at. So for me, I realized, man, like, I keep on running away from these things I'm not good at. I have to dive into these things. I have to become one with these things. And that's what happened. And so I own them both.
Yeah.
And I talk very openly about them both.
A lot of people, when they think about working out, they think of it as being a physical thing.
Right, no. I did it for mental.
Yeah.
People always say, my God, like, no, don't look at it like, I didn't care about losing weight. I didn't care about being the fastest person. I wasn't making the Olympics. I wasn't going to pros. I could barely read and write when I was in a junior in high school. I wasn't going anywhere. I saw working out as a way for me to build calluses on my mind. I had to callous over the victim's mentality. So I watched these movies. I talked about Rocky last time I was on here. I always equated training to mental toughening. Like, it always looked brutal. People waking up early and doing all these things, and it looked horrible. I was like, wow, man, I got to start doing that. Not to get better, bigger, and stronger, but that is what's going to build me. That looks uncomfortable. That looks brutal. And getting up early, I don't want to do that. So I made this long list of things I don't want to do. And through that, I found myself. I started, I'm like, you guys aren't doing this shit in high school. You guys aren't getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, running over here in this golf course. So I started seeing myself very differently than the average human being. I was like, hang on a second. I have something they don't have. And that's when I started to develop these things through working out. It was this great, never-ending work ethic. And through work ethic, I developed self-esteem.
I'm curious about why 6 months became 18.
So basically, I became the only person in Navy SEAL history to be in 3 hell weeks in 1 year. And so,
why? Was it you were just slow or?
No, I got injured twice, but so I went through, so my first hell week, and hell week is 130 hours of continuous training. You start on Sunday, end on Friday. The first hell week, I got sick, double pneumonia, stress fractures, got rolled back to day one. And Navy SEAL training is 6 weeks, and hell week is either 3rd week or 5th week of training, depending upon what class you're in. And then you have another 20-some weeks of training after hell week. So basically, I was in hell week, got injured, got rolled back to day one, week 1. So started my second class, went through that hell week, graduated that hell week, get ready to start second phase, broke my kneecap. Got rolled back to day 1, week 1 again. Went back to, started back day 1, week 1, and went all the way through that class. So it was just bad luck for me, but that bad luck taught me a lot about myself and about the human mind and what we can do. And I talk about in my book a lot about day 1, week 1. Day 1, week 1 is starting from scratch, starting over.
I love that, man.
And that's the mentality that I live by. Don't be afraid to go back to day 1, week 1. And I always, no matter how much I've accomplished in life, my life is always lived at day 1, week 1, because that's where you grind. You grind at the beginning. And we always start to get very complacent and very comfortable as we start to get to where we're going. We start to relax. We don't wake up early in the morning. We're not prepared. So if you had that day one, week one mentality, it's like going for a job interview.
Yeah, yeah.
So the job interview squared away. And then after you get the job, a couple months later, man, you're like, you know what? I can go a little later. No one's grinding that hard.
Right.
I don't need to be that squared away every day. You start to get this very soft mentality. And then you become that person. So that's why the day one, week one mentality throughout your whole life, it keeps you grinding hard.
Honestly, it was, I realized at a young age how to change myself was through discipline. And the military didn't teach me that. It was something I realized I had zero discipline, zero self-discipline. And I realized I have to start developing this. And I started really because I was horrible at reading and I was horrible at writing. I have so many learning disabilities, it's not even funny. So I just sit down at the table and spend so much time in this, reading and writing and learning. And that kind of translated over to my self-discipline with working out. So that's where it started. I started when I was about 16 years old and said, well, I have a fourth grade reading level. You know, let me go ahead now and start really focusing because I'm not gonna get in the military because I got to pass the test.
Yeah.
So that's where it started for me.
What's your excuse? Is it too cold where you live? Is it too hot where you live? Does it rain too much? Now it's time for some real talk. Maybe you're the only black person applying for a job. Maybe you're the only female. Maybe you're the only gay person. Job, whatever the it may be. Maybe that shit's in your head. Maybe that's your excuse for not being better. Life's a real big picture. When I was young, all those things got in my head. Black, not smart enough, single mom, all that bullshit owns space in my head. If you're allowing people and things and situations to own space in your head, you're losing. Last thing, life's one big head game. You play with yourself. If you lose, it's because you allow life to get in your head.
I never read anything. You know, I could barely read, you know, so
Right.
I wasn't reading back then. I watched a lot of movies, and I was really big into visualization. And I always equated working out to struggle. And I struggled my whole life, but I ran from it. So I started realizing, man, I got to start facing the struggle, and I got to be mentally strong for the struggle. So that's why I started coming up with, like, I'm training for life. Mentally, I'm training for life. I'm not training for, like, to lift 400 pounds. And I found out on my own pretty much, is that through discipline, through self-discipline, through repetition, through tons of repetition of the same thing that you don't want to do, and that's the key thing. Through repetition of things you don't want to do, you develop mental, like an armor for your mind. You start to armor your mind, because your mind's like, okay, we suffer every day. It's what we do. We do stuff that sucks every day. So then when the suck stuff comes, you're ready for it. And that's how I started coming up. You know, I just started being very uncomfortable, and now it's like just a way of life.
So basically, the 40% rule is something I designed years ago. And I started realizing how little most of us are leaving so much on the table. And this is what the 40% rule is, just to make it very basic and simplistic for people. You know how you buy a car back in the day, and some cars have a governor on it?
Yeah.
So the car, so the speedometer may say 135 miles an hour. But that governor is set at 91, 92 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So you're driving, you got a nice ass car, and a Corvette passes right by you. Bam! The guy looks at you and says, hey, come on, man, let's go, let's get after it. You look at him and say, hey, man, I can't. I got a governor on my car. I can't race you. But if you take the governor off that car, you can go 135 miles an hour. The thing about it is our brains also have a governor on them.
Yeah.
And that governor is basically your insecurities, your fears, pain, suffering. Whenever your mind starts to feel uncomfortable, your brain tells you it's time to quit. We are done. Let's pack it the up and get out of here. Let's now go to our comfortable spot where we feel good about ourselves. So the 40% rule is just that. We are leaving so much on the table because our mind has control over us versus us having control over our minds. The most important conversation you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. You wake up with it, you walk around with it, you go to bed with it, eventually you act upon it. If life is beating you down
Yeah.
and it's hurting you, and your internal dialogue is, man, life is kicking my ass.
Yeah.
You know what? When I was in SEAL training, when I was in Ranger school, when I was growing up, I started realizing, man, if you have a can't hurt me mentality, if you're getting bullied like I got bullied, if you're struggling, if you're failing, if you're falling out in life, if your mind is telling you, hey, we're in the fight, we're not going anywhere, you can't hurt me. No matter what you do to me, no matter what you bring on me, no matter how bad life is, I'm going to be right here, standing right in the middle of the ring, and the ring is the ring of life.
Yeah.
It's just a mantra that you say to yourself, like, hey, you know what, whatever, man, bring it. Bring it.
Become very dangerous when you have this idea that you can't be hurt or killed.
That's right. Bring it.
How does someone who's ordinary or listening or watching get more committed, achieve more success?
The biggest thing you have to do is shut off technology. You have to go dark. What I mean by that is you have to be quiet in your mind. Get away from people. We love being around people. We love talking. We love parties. We love all that shit. It's okay to be alone. It's also okay to be unhappy. It's okay to be unhappy sometimes, man. It's okay to say, you know what, man, I'm fucked up. So you gotta go to the truth first. Who are you? Get really accountable and say, okay, who am I? What's the truth about me? Get to that dark place in your mind. Figure out, it may take months, it may take years. Figure out your purpose. Figure out what you want to be in life. And then from there, okay, I have my purpose. It may take a long time. No one knows their purpose because it's too loud. Find your purpose. From there, all right, you gotta start planning. People love the planning phase because it's very comfortable. Then from the planning phase, you gotta go to execution. So the execution phase, where we all hate, because that's where the real work begins, and that's when the failure happens, and the failure. So, but you know, that's kind of how you have to do it.
Do you think there's, I don't know if balance is the right word, but do you think there is a point in time where you can sit back and say, let me take this in a little bit?
I, for a long time, was probably the most unbalanced on the planet Earth. And I took great pride in that.
Yeah.
It was on purpose. It was on purpose because I knew for me to get to where I wanted to go, where I had to go, there could be no balance. There could be no, 8 hours a day, I do this. And then,
no 9 to 5, right?
No. It had to be, I'm such in a fucked up spot in my life, I'm such in a dark place, that if I don't dedicate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 a year to becoming a better human being, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And so the people who were in my family had to realize, hey, I'm sorry that you may think I'm neglecting you right now, but if I don't fix myself, I won't be good for anybody. So yeah, I became very unbalanced for a long time. Balance is important, but you have to first go to war with yourself. You got to figure out what you're about and be proud of who you are before you start to get that teeter-totter nice and balanced out. So
yeah, that makes sense. I think if I'm hearing you right, what I hear is that in order to create maybe some of that balance down the road, you have to get a foundation under you.
That's right.
Right? If you don't have that foundational knowledge of who you are and how you show up and what you're capable of, yeah, it's pretty hard to walk in any sort of balance between work and career and family and all the other things that you have going on.
That's right. So if you read my book and you see what goes on, you see how many mistakes I make along the way, trying to find balance, trying to find peace in myself, and I f myself all up. I'm having relationships. I'm having, I get a girl, knocked up. She's pregnant. I'm in the worst spot of my life. I don't have a real job. I'm going through SEAL training. I haven't graduated SEAL training. I'm going back through SEAL training for the 3rd time, and now I have a girl that's pregnant. I'm all over the place. I don't have, I have no money. I have nothing. And I'm establishing a life with a family, and I'm all f***ed up. So, a lot of us get in situations where we start establishing all these different things and pop up all these different pop-up boxes, and our life is because we haven't fixed ourselves. Until you fix yourself, don't start another journey before you finish your own journey first, or not finish it, but at least get a good, foot start into it. So I'm the only person in the history of Navy SEAL training to go through 3 hell weeks in 1 year.
Can you explain a little bit what hell week is?
Yeah,
Because
no problem.
I heard it on your audiobook a lot.
Yeah,
and it just sounds like a painful moment that very few people are able to handle it.
It is a very long, painful moment. So I don't know what week it is, but for me, it was my 3rd week.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's your 3rd, 4th, or 5th week in Navy SEAL training. Navy SEAL training is 6 months long. And this is like the biggest crucible in Navy SEAL. It probably in all of Special Forces, Special Ops. It's 130 hours of continuous training. And you might get 2 hours of sleep. And the whole idea is you start on Sunday and you end on Friday. You might get 2 hours of sleep. And the whole idea of this training is to get a man and break him down to nothing. And that's where you see what a man's made of. So to make it through 1, most people say, I'm never going back through again. So I was fortunate, God blessed me. So I started looking at these failures as blessings. Because with all these failures and all these bullies and all these being abused and my learning disabilities and stuttering and everything I had in my life, they are really gifts.
Yeah.
They're gifts. And it's not some psychological babble bullshit that I'm using to say, oh no, my life wasn't that bad. No, my life sucked. But they truly were gifts because all these different trials and tribulations led my mind to where it's at now. So Hell Week, once again, 130 hours. You get 2 hours of sleep maybe, and they beat the shit out of you. Beating like push-ups, sit-ups. And it's near the Pacific Ocean. So you're out in the Pacific Ocean, back in, and that water's freezing. And so you see these men, these great men that I watched on TV, I'm now with them. And for the longest time, I put people who had better childhoods, better grades, better this, better that, I put them all above me. But now I'm on the same playing field as them. So when you get on the same playing field as these men who you think are better than you look at them eye to eye, and you realize that they're not. So once again, I'm starting to do all this live autopsy shit, like saying, God, man, you were mind yourself your whole life, thinking that this person came from a nicer house, better education, better mom, better dad, and they're better than you. It's not the case. You have this in you. You may have to dig a little deeper to find it. You know, their family may have started them off a lot better than you, but it's there.
Yeah.
It's there. So I started really realizing how powerful the mind was in that 3rd Hell Week.
Talk to me about why it's important to be not reasonable.
Well, the thing about it is that you have to, especially this day and age, there's so much noise and negativity in this world. There's so many things that are attacking us virally, everywhere. Social media, everything is pretty much, a lot of things are against us in life. And a lot of times you may be standing alone. The only voice you may have is your own voice. The only pat on the back may be from yourself.
Yeah.
And so we are in a world where we're constantly looking for that attaboy. You may not get that attaboy. So if you're not relentless in your pursuit to be the very best person you can, it's not about being like me. It's about being whoever the hell you want to be. You have to have that kind of dog in you to realize I might be out here alone in the street, in the sewer of life, and I got to be able to fight on my own. And that's the whole, that's what it's all about, man. It's all about that. You got to be able to be your own motivator.
Yeah.
To times when there's no, like before a football game, basketball game, everybody's got these headphones on. They're trying to get pumped up. They're trying to get juiced up before the big game. Once those headphones come off, man, what are you saying to yourself? What are you saying to yourself when you get popped in your mouth? And that music's not playing in your ear. So that's the whole thing, man. You got to have an internal flame. And all I am is a kindling. All you need is a little kindling to start a whole big forest fire. So that's what it's all about, man.
Is there any part of what you do in your day that actually you just really enjoy? It's not overcoming demons or overcoming voices. You just actually think, this just actually makes me happy and I really like it.
What's funny about all
she's
this?
sitting over there.
Oh yeah. Well, my fiance is one of them. But honestly, what's funny about this is people may hear all this and say, God, this guy's such a structured guy, talking about demons, getting over things. That sounds like his whole life. It's true, but I'm the most peaceful person on the planet Earth, even with like the conversation, I gotta go to the gym, I have to do this, I have to do that. Every day I'm winning. Every day I'm winning the other voice in my head. So I'm at peace with myself. The things I do for fun are like me bettering myself.
Yeah.
I love sports, I love watching sports, but I also love accomplishing and overcoming myself every day. Because every day is a battle. Every day is a battle because your mind wants to choose the path of least resistance. Every day. But you don't become better by ever doing that. You become normal. And I don't want to be normal. So it may not be a life for everybody, but I find a lot of peace in not being normal in my life. I want to show you something I haven't shown anybody before.
Oh no, I don't know if we
No, I'm not gonna show you none of that stuff. So you see these little spots right here in my body?
Yeah.
You see this?
Yep.
So basically, everybody wonders what happened.
Right.
These are very small spots. I look like a leopard.
All over.
They were all over my body.
Really?
So just to give you some insight. So I've talked about it on several podcasts, but I haven't shown anybody like my leopard skin and what happened. So I can take off I can show you all kind of nastiness, man, but I'm not gonna do that. I can show you my ears, and I'll show you one thing right now. This part right here, you see this little dry spot in my ear?
Oh yeah.
And if I were to dig in my ear right now, nothing but shit would come out. Really? A whole bunch of crust. I'm taking you there. Why? This is a man's show.
That's right.
So we're gonna go there.
Let's
right
go
now.
there.
Okay, we're gonna go there. So I don't talk about it on most shows, but what happened was over a period of time of me literally trying to transform myself, and a guy asked me a question yesterday, man. Am I paying now physically for what I put myself through? I said, yeah, I am. But what he doesn't understand was when I was 297 pounds and I was a piece of shit, I wasn't going anywhere in life. I asked myself that question before I decided to put myself through hell.
Are you willing to do it, or are you willing to pay the price?
Am I willing to do it, and I'm willing to pay the price after I f*** myself up? 'Cause I knew for me to get to where I wanted to go, I didn't have the ability. The ability was not there. So I knew I was going to break myself off to do it. Some people are born with this great talent. I wasn't smart. I wasn't some physical specimen. I wasn't any of that stuff. So I knew for me to go through all of this shit, at the end of it was going to be a broken man. So I did it, and in the process of doing it, I knew all along the way, I'm going to be f***ed up one day. And that time came. That time came. And in that book, that psoas muscle I'm talking about, right? Literally, for me being in that fight or flight mode and pushing way beyond what I thought was even possible. I kept on finding new limits as I was going on this journey. So, but in doing that, you're breaking your body down tremendously.
Sure, yeah.
So what happened to me was that psoas muscle attached to your lower body, your upper body. Mine became so tight that it literally left probably, I would say, baseball-sized lumps on my hip. And so these are my muscles that just tightened up to my hip flexors.
And it was just contracting right there?
Just contracting right here. So I looked, I had two lumps like this were right here. And no one knew what the they were. And on the back of my head, I had a big lump on it. And you can kind of see it now.
Oh, right, yeah, I can.
But it used to be an extra 1.5 inches.
Really?
So this is where my sickness was coming from. So the doctors gave me all kind of medication, and slowly but surely I kept on getting worse and worse and worse.
Because you were going through the same type of training at this point, or were you hung up at this point?
So at this time, I'd already done like 19 years in the military.
Yeah.
I had done all these ultra races and all this other shit. So I had gone through the gamut. But no one knew that every time I got to the start line of an ultra race, I was broken at the start line. So I didn't go to this ultra race like, oh, I'm healthy, I'm ready to go, I'm all juiced
you were
up.
Feeling awesome.
No, I went to start line and every damn race I ever did, broken. A lot of times I went to start line with stress fractures, compression tape on. If you look at me in that Badwater tape in my first Badwater, you can see at the end of Badwater, there's a video before I get interviewed, and they're taking off the compression tape. I had that in the start line of the damn race.
You started with
So my mentality was animalistic. It was something that it was barbarian type of like a mentality. So, but that cost me. It cost me a lot, but and that's what happened to my body. My body slowly started to literally choke itself out. So I lost 2 inches of my height due to that psoas muscle that's attached to your T12, just gripping down. So what you see here, all these little leopard spots on my body, is basically, as I started opening my body back up, infection and started coming out everywhere. So I got to the point, and I hid it from the SEAL teams for a long time. The last 2 years as a Navy SEAL, I couldn't Valsalva, which is clearing your ears to go underwater.
That depth was probably tough.
But luckily, we were diving Draeger systems, so you only go like 15, 20 feet. But still, at 15, 20 feet, you still got to equalize and and get your Valsalva. So I was literally just busting my eardrums out to go down because all that earwax that's now coming up, I got so tight, my traps and everything shut off my eustachian tubes. So whenever the doctors would go, they'd go, "Hey, doc, I cannot clear my ears." They would go in and check my eardrum, and they'd be like, "You have the cleanest ears I've ever seen in my life. You don't have any earwax." Why? This shit was trapped and cut off. So the second I opened all this shit up, and my fiance would tell you, it's the grossest shit. It just comes out like for 2.5 years now.
Because it's been backed up in there.
It's a sick, and then the leopard spot, so I open something up, and infection. It's something that I could write a whole fucking book about. But now after 5 years of doing this shit, I am in the best shape of my entire life because my body, even going into SEAL training, because my childhood was so messed up.
Yeah.
And that psoas muscle starts to get tight then, that I went into SEAL training really out of shape, or as far as my health.
Sure.
And I would tape it up. My mentality was tape it up, man. I just taped it up and kept on going in it. And I paid the man, but it was worth it.
I'm all about team. I'm not a selfish person.
Yeah.
But I've been a lot of scenarios in life, man, where my whole team, like going through Hell Week, there's 6 people in the boat crew. There were several times where everybody, even including myself, we were all miserable. And no one was motivating anybody. It was every man for himself.
Uh-huh.
You're all in your own mind. You're miserable. You're cold. You don't want to be there anymore. And I realized I got to step up. So in all these endurance races I do, a lot of times in life, you're at home by yourself, living in your pile of shit. And that's the woe is me, poopy pants mentality that we have. A lot of times there's no team around you. There just isn't.
Yeah.
Because people have their own problems.
Yeah, exactly.
People have their own issues.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying don't have a great support group around you.
Yeah, I get it. No, I get it. But you just said something that's really important because sometimes the team around you is all f***ed up too.
That's right. You cannot continue to lean on people all the time. And a lot of us say, well, oh, Tom, Mary, Sarah, John, they're going to pick me up today. You can't have that mentality.
Yeah.
You got to believe that you are the one that's going to be picking them up.
Life beat me the up bad. I mean, I was knocked out in the 12th round of a 15-round, heavyweight bout. I was knocked out. But what happened was in the 12th round, when the challenger turned his back on me, I was getting the fuck up. And I got up and won the next 3 rounds and knocked that motherfucker out in the 15th round. So that's my mind about can't hurt me. I was hurt, man. Like literally, I had to overcome so much those first 26 years of my life, and I still do every day today. It's not over.
Nah.
But the mentality of can't hurt me is just that. No matter what's in front of you, man, you have to face, you have to confront, you have to overcome and move forward. So my father, some of the kids that bullied me, my learning disabilities, all these things I went through in life, stuttering, has so many different issues, failing and failing and failing, I had to overcome them. Or they would have overcame me.
Once you got out of high school, like what moment in life was it when you just said, like, F with this, like I'm gonna work on? Did you work on all your weaknesses?
Oh,
You changed yourself, right? Because I saw the picture before.
I was fat.
Before, yeah.
Right.
And now you look so healthy, so fit. You look like a perfect human being.
Well, what happened was, so when I graduated high school, I finally graduated. I finally passed the military entrance exam, the ASVAB. I wanted to be an Air Force pararescueman, and I won't get deep into that, but I failed miserably at that. Mm-hmm. So I went from 175 pounds out of high school to 297 pounds within a 4-year period. So basically, I'm about 22 years old now, about 22 years old. I'm 297 pounds. I'm out of the Air Force, and my job is I'm spraying for cockroaches at a company called Ecolab. So I'm making $1,000 a month, and my job is from 11 o'clock at night to 7 o'clock in the morning to go around and spray for cockroaches. So every night for 6 months, I'm doing this job. So I finally get home one night, and trust me, it wasn't like overnight this happened. You're haunted by the mere fact that you're a piece of shit every day. And people who don't think that, you're lying to yourself. You are lying. So every day of my life, I'm haunted by my father, the kids that bullied me, my own insecurities. All these things were just roosting in the back of my head. So I'd be driving home at like 7 o'clock in the morning from an all-night shift, and all alone in my truck, and I'd be thinking, what the f***, man? My life is hell. So one day I came home, and I always come home and watch TV, and this show was on with like Navy SEALs.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid of the water, terrified of the water. I sink like a rock. So I'm sitting there watching these guys going through Navy SEAL training, and I'm like, and I saw what I believed how a man should feel, have pride and dignity in himself.
Yeah.
So like, I gotta change myself. So literally I sat down on the couch and watching these guys going through SEAL training, and I went through my own mental checklist of how f***ed up I am and how many things I would have to change just to get an opportunity to try out for something like that. Have to get smarter, have to get fit, have to lose weight, have to do all these things, start running, swimming, everything. So I finally get to a point where I get the courage to go to a recruiter and say, hey, I want to go try to do this. But when you're 297 pounds and you're going to go try to be one of the fittest people in the world, you get laughed at. So I got laughed at a lot. But in this process was actually hardening my mind. All the laughter, because the laughter used to make me cower. Mm-hmm. Now I realize that I can no longer hide from my insecurities, hide from all these fears. I had to start wearing them.
Yeah.
I had to start talking about them. I had to start being vulnerable because I was always afraid of them. So here I am now. I'm facing them. I finally find a recruiter that says, hey, we'll take you in. And he says, you have less than 3 months to lose 106 pounds. I'm like, that's impossible. So that was my mindset. But I was like, hey, I can't have that kind of mindset. So I went to the dungeon and started using all my insecurities as strength. Instead of looking at being bullied and my dad messing me up and all this stuff like that, I looked at it as, who could have survived all this and still be here with the opportunity to go into Navy SEAL training? And so I started using all these negative things and started flipping everything on top of his head. Instead of saying, woe is me, kicking rocks, head down in the dirt, I started saying, there's not a motherfucker on the planet who would have this opportunity coming from where I came from. They would be a statistic.
Yeah.
So I started looking at it as power versus like big time defeat.
If you could define happiness for you, what would that be?
It's overcoming yourself.
Yeah.
At all costs, whatever that takes. To be at the point of your life where you don't care about being judged. You can be in a room of 1 million people and they all hate you, and you walk in and you go like this. Not because you're angry at them, because you know yourself. Inside and out, and you know that you've put yourself through hell to be where you're at today. You've walked the walk, you've talked the talk, and you've walked the walk. And that's, to me, what it's all about. It's all about putting those boots on the ground and getting after it every day. And once you do that, you have a feeling about yourself that no one can ever take away or even understand. My whole life, I mean, I don't know if people believe in God or what. I don't care what you believe in. There's been this unrelenting voice in my head. We all have this voice. It's the right or wrong voice. And a lot of times that voice guides us into comfort. And my voice guided me into comfort a lot. But I had this other voice I heard my whole life saying, hey, what are you doing? No, man, we got to go over here. We got to go over here to that rock pile over in the corner where nobody's at. That's where victory's at. We're over there in that corner. So this voice was giving me all these answers. I wasn't a real smart kid growing up, but I had this crazy voice in my head saying, over there is where the answers are. And I wouldn't listen to it because over there was pain. Over there was me looking in the mirror. Over there was me being accountable for all these things I went through my life. Even though people put them on me, it's now mine to own. And I didn't want to go over there by myself, but I had to. And this voice was guiding me there. It's God, whatever you want to call it. But that's what it was in me. Those scars are real. Those scars are proof that, your past is real. So they're never going to go away. I own them, but I'm proud of my childhood. I'm proud because without all of these lessons in life, and everybody says this bullshit, I mean it. I mean it, because I was able to look at my childhood and how I grew up as the ultimate training ground for my life. There has to be some people on this planet Earth who have my mentality. As gross as it is to some people, and as far off as it is and not understood, there has to be some people like me on this planet Earth. Has to be some warriors out there that are able to take this mindset and do something with it. So that right there, once you are able to look at your life and realize that all these bad things are actually the ultimate training ground for what you're going to, encounter in life, you start looking at your past very differently. I started to create the real Rocky. I wanted to be the real version of a movie. But that's the hard part, though. That movie's inspirational. And in my life, there's a lot of times in my life where it wasn't so inspirational. There's a lot of lonely moments where there was no going the distance song in the background to keep me going.
Yeah, that music changes things, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Or lack thereof.
Or the lack thereof, man. There's a lot of times, there's a lot of quiet times, a lot of failure, a lot of disappointments, a lot of starting from scratch. But that's when I started to develop a different mentality. And I started to develop a mentality of, this is where it's at. Where you find out where you're at is when you're at the lowest part of your life. So I started to develop a whole new mindset. Like, the lowest part of my life used to make me feel bad. The lowest part of my life now, it actually gives me strength because I know so many people stop. That's where they quit.
Right.
When they get to the sewer of life versus looking at it saying, oh yeah, now let's see what the is up. Let's see what the is up now. Let's see the millions of men out here in this world. They're not going where I'm willing to go now. This is where people stop. And this is where I started to develop the different mentality is. You want to test my resolve? You want to test my ability to go the distance? You want to see where your life ends and mine begins? That's where that mentality started for me. Because I started saying, man, you always end up in the dungeon. You gotta find strength in that, or no one else does. So that Rocky movie was a little bit of a spark, but to become that person, it takes a lot. My dad beat me, this happened. I mean, my dad ran prostitutes, man. My dad literally snatched the soul out of my mom. Like, my mom is still battling. Like, after my mom left my dad, and this is what I'll talk about in the book, she got married 3 times for a total of 6 months. I don't go there. I'm not even gonna talk about the guy she married. So this woman she's beautiful. She's so smart. All this stuff, man. This guy literally stripped her soul away. And I was a young kid watching it, and I had no soul to begin with. And my brother, he has a story that he could write 8 books. My dad just came through and just washed us all clean. So to come out.
Is he still around?
He died about 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. I'm not for sure. I didn't go to the funeral, but I forgave him. So I saw my dad through an 8-year-old's eyes. So we left when I was 8. And then at 22, I went back to see him through a grown man's eyes. And he was the same person I remembered. But I had to. You can't live with hate. You cannot move forward. As much as that guy tried to ruin all of our lives, that's where I came from. I had to figure out the origin of where I started from. So when I was going back through my life trying to fix who I am, the person I was, like, if your knee hurts, it's usually not your knee that's hurting. There's something else, man. Like, it could be a tight quad, It could be the right leg if it's the left leg. You got to find out the origin of where all this began. And it was him. So I had to go back to where, my roots and the origin of all this happened, and it's hard to do that.
Did you make peace with him?
I made big peace with. So we didn't have a peaceful conversation. We left very Garanimal. He's a vicious man. He was a vicious man. I mean, medieval. So I had become a medieval at that time. I was 22 and I was the big boy, and so I was no longer the guy who was afraid. It was now like, hey, I want to kill you type of shit. And we were sitting at Denny's after an all-night skate or whatever the hell. He owned bars and skating rinks like that, and so we were sitting down and we kind of got into it, and I just kind of left. But I had to make peace with it in myself. I could not hold on to that hate, because holding on to that hate was half the reason why I kept falling into the same pattern of failing. How far can the mind go? How far can we go as human beings? So that's, I call myself the Stephen Hawkins of the mind. He was obsessed with everything he ever dove into. The guy couldn't walk or anything, so he was like, the mind, that's one thing he didn't want to lose. And I became obsessed with it because it's the one thing that controlled me. So I became obsessed with this. What is this thing up here that just has me on a tightrope and just walks me into all these horrible decisions I make and makes me feel so pathetic and weak and insignificant and dumb and stupid and everything. I got to get control of this thing. But it's amazing that once you get control of that thing, how far you can go. I have zero anger. I'm a passionate guy, but I get it though.
Sure.
The way I talk, the way I come across, I'm an aggressive guy, because that's what it takes to, if you walk into a situation, into a fight, I'm not saying be so aggressive that you're so aggressive that you're making bad moves.
Sure.
But if you don't have a little flame burn in you, knowing that I might get hit real hard, and when I get hit, I have to attack. I can't get knocked out.
Right.
You have to have that mentality of, when I went to Hell Week, I knew I was gonna get broken. I had to have an internal flame in me that could never be, it couldn't be kindling. Kindling, you put the water in the kindling, that shit's out.
Right, yeah.
Nah, I had to be a tree that is burning hard. It's burning for a long time. And that's what I became, man. So it's not anger. Anger can't sustain you for a long period of time. Because once you get in a situation, trust me, I tried it before. When you get in a real hard situation and you're miserable, that anger is gone. What comes up is real. The real feeling of who you are and where you're at. You don't want to care about them people who made fun of you in high school or your dad beating the f*** out of you. Because now you become selfish. You're like, let's say you're in Hell Week, you're in that cold water, it's 50 degrees, and your balls are in your mouth right now. You're sitting there thinking, oh, dude, your mind's not thinking, those kids in high school bullied me or my dad.
Right, that's the least of your worries.
No, you're thinking, so that anger can fuel you for so long. There has to be something so deep in you that drives you. So what really does it for me is I know what we're capable of. And I know that most human beings aren't willing to go where I am. And that's a very, very dangerous thing. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody else. Everybody has this talent.
Sure.
It's not a talent. It's just realizing that we stop way short of our true potential. A lot of people have situations where someone does something and we all attack that person, like on the media. If someone does something wrong, everybody now is perfect. And we now judge this guy. I don't judge him. I don't judge anybody. What I do is I start studying them. Why did they do that? Not in a judging way. I want to learn from you.
And what'd you get out of your dad?
I got that he grew up rough. He was very insecure, had a lot of kids, and his insecurities just trickled over onto us. So yeah, he jacked us up real good, but he never fixed himself. So if you never fix yourself, the next person in line is going to get the wrath. And we were next in line. His first wife, killed herself or whatever happened, and got burned up in a house or something. It's some craziness, man. There's a lot of stuff that goes on there that I didn't put in the book. At the core of my soul, when I retired from the military with about $50,000 a year is what I'll probably make. For me, for a guy that grew up with nothing, I lived in a $7 a month place growing up for a long period of time. And then we moved to a $236 a month place. So basically, you give me $50,000, I'm rich.
Yeah.
So my mindset was about helping people. And when people truly believe in your message and believe in who you are, and they see that you're being honest and truly honest for the fact that, hey, I just want to see you be better. I don't want nothing. Maybe a thank you when you're older and you're walking around with your kids and your family. If you have a real, authentic, true message about people, and people see that you're not trying to sell out and not trying to sell them things, because I knew how I felt growing up, and I don't want anybody to feel that way. So when I give back, it's not about giving back to like say, oh, well, hopefully down the line, I can sell them something.
Yeah.
My message is truly authentic to how I came up, and people feel that. Therefore, the business is about them.
Yeah.
And I have all these lessons learned through a life that God blessed me with, as far as like, look, I didn't survive this life. I thrived in hell.
Yeah.
And through that, I was like a guy sitting back. I was like just writing all this down. I became a poet in hell, just sitting there as hell was all around me. I was all calm, just taking it all in. Oh, I gotta tell people this. I gotta tell people that. Oh, I learned this. I learned that. While most people run from it, I was learning from it. And now I'm just giving all this knowledge to people for free.
Yeah.
So in return, people are growing. People like the message. And when you have a good message, you grow a business. And I know what gives me fuel is I know that most people who are blessed with so much talent, great parents, great upbringing, didn't come from where I come from. They're going to quit before me. Having all the tools that they have, they didn't have the ability to examine themselves. When you have everything so nice in life, it's great to have a great life.
Yeah, no doubt.
But what happens is you don't self-examine. You don't do a live autopsy. When you have a f***ed up life, it almost forces you to do a live autopsy. It forces you to find strength from places that no one looks from. Because food is not at the ready. You know, I have a learning disability. It's not at the ready. I can't just pick up a book and start reading.
Right.
There's preparation behind everything I do. There's everything I do has to come with so much preparation. It's despicable. It makes me sick. My own personal life makes me sick. That's why I'm so disciplined now. Without my self-discipline, there is no David Goggins. Like, I can't stop reading. I won't be able to read tomorrow. I will lose it that fast.
Wow, yeah.
I cannot stop going to the gym. My mind is set up in a spot where, hey, the second I stop, it wants to stop. Because I had a quitting mind growing up. When you get beat the shit out of you all the time, your mind wants to go to that nice spot where you're comforted, where you're not trying, where shit is easy. That's where your mind, it doesn't want to think. You have all these things in the mind, and the mind can only absorb so much. So all the pain that has to go through, it wants to push it away and say, let's not do that. So every day I'm fighting where the mind wants to go. So it's a constant evolution, man. I've never arrived. That's right now, I'm stressing out 2-3 hours a day. I'm trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm like, oh man, I went through Navy SEAL training being f***ed up. I ran over 7,000 miles in 2007 being f***ed up. I did pull-up records being f***ed up. Now that the mind is so strong, let the body catch the mind. So that's now where I'm at. So I'm always trying to reinvent the wheel and see what I'm capable of next.
This might be a weird question, but are you grateful for those times? You know, the times with your father, all the hardship, all the trial. Like, how do you view that stuff now that you feel like you've overcome that and become something new entirely?
Honestly, man, I'm very grateful for it. I'm more grateful for that than being a SEAL, going to Ranger School, anything I ever did in my life. So people always go they come to my house, and I've done so many races and so many different things. I don't have an I love me wall. You walk in my house, it's like you see the decorations on the wall what my fiance has done. There's nothing about me. And they go, why is that, man? You've done so much in your life. Man, all this shit up here is priceless. Like everything I've gone through, all this like the journey of my life has been something that I can never ever be able to say enough about. You know, it is who I am. You know, like everybody wants to be proud of themselves. When you finally become proud of yourself, you no longer give a flying what it took to get there. And that's what people always say, man, look at you, man. You know, you have all this stuff happen to your skin and your body's broken, this and that. The feeling I have in my mind is priceless. And if I were to say you had to do it over again to get this feeling again, I'd do it all over again.
You would?
All over again.
Interesting.
With a smile on my face.
Because you made it this far in the video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome. If you want another awesome video in our Black Excellence series, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.